Okay, well, welcome back. This is number 4, I think, in the What's a DAW set. So if you're familiar with DAWs, you use them, you can safely skip this. This is kind of a buyer request that saves some of those harder videos, presume a little bit more knowledge than maybe what somebody has coming onto a DAW for the first time. So again, this is track operations. You know, editing tracks, import, copy, that kind of stuff, record. So once again, if you're comfortable with all that stuff, skip it, and I'll see you next week instead. Otherwise, let's get started. Okay, well, here we go. As we've discussed before in previous weeks, this is the very basic beginner stuff. Looking at these track ops, we're going to take kind of a hodgepodge approach, blast here, blast there, just look at some different things you can do and why you would want to choose a digital audio workstation to do it. A couple weeks ago, we discussed how this all fits together. This is a channel stripper, a mixer for our inputs. This is the track area. So let's get started with that. Here's the master. We don't do much with it. Maybe we might put at the very end a reverb or a limiter or something like that on it, but in general we're going to leave the master alone. That's the stuff that's coming out. Here I'm going to right click and I can add a track, and I can add a bus, which we're not going to do even in this series. If you're interested in buses, there's a video from last year that's pretty extensive on that. Audio plus MIDI tracks, I have no idea why anybody would want to do that together like that. Your imagination might be better than mine, and you'll be using this all the time, but it hasn't come up for me. MIDI tracks, we'll do that next week or the week after sometime. This week we're going to concentrate on audio tracks. So I'll put in an audio track, and notice it's just normal mode. I'm just going to use mono at this time. I'm not hooking it to any group, as I think we discussed a couple weeks ago. And just to get started, I'll move my playhead back, and I will record. Arm this track for recording. Arm recording. Test 1, 2, 3. Test 1, 2, 3. So that's one of the main things we get in a DAW for, is to record. Notice I can come here and, well, let's first discuss a relationship here and here. This is not exclusive to Ardour, but one of its strengths. This is this, and I can open it up, make it bigger, see the whole thing. I can choke it down. I can slide this around, so if I have a long track, I can slide to any section I want. And that can be very handy for rapidly moving around your tracks. Secondly, Ardour and most DAWs these days do what's called non-destructive editing. Let's run this back and listen to it. Test 1, 2, 3. Test 1, 2, 3. Okay. I'm going to grab this. I'm going to trim it. Test 1, 2, 3. And you'll notice you don't hear the end of it. It's called non-destructive editing because the original thing that's recorded is still on the hard drive. Ardour just keeps track that I only want this much of it right here, but I can get it back simply by opening it back up. Same thing with the front end, same thing with anything. Whatever I've recorded, or the next operation I'm going to show you in a minute, importing, it's all still there. If you screw up, you didn't lose it, you only lost its reference in Ardour, and you can get it back. So that being said, let's come down here for a second and do the other main thing you'll be doing with audio, and that's to import something that's already recorded. Come over here, come down to sounds, get ourselves a drum track. There we go. I'm going to add it as a new track. I'm going to do the best conversion quality. And what is this about? Right now I have Ardour set up for 48 kilohertz, 48,000 samples a second. The thing I'm importing might be 44.1, it might be 22, it might be 96, who knows. But what it's going to do is it's going to convert whatever this track is out there for to the 48 kilohertz that I have in here. So let's do that. It imported it. Let's play it. There you go. Test 1, 2, 3. Test 1. Okay, so that's important because we've got to keep that stuff all synced. And while I'm on sync, let's take a look at this. Here's the meter. Notice it's 4/4 and a tempo of 120. I can right click here and change it to any tempo I'd want. And it's not really important in that if this says 120 and the beat of the thing I'm trying to do is 93.6 beats per minute, nothing prohibits me from doing that. But what this is handy for is if I come here and I want to move things, I don't want to do that. There we go. I want to move things. It gives it these little sticky points and kind of keeps things synced up so that if, you know, here's 120, there's going to be 120 beats here to sync this to. And so when I notice still on a beat line, darn it, I come over here, notice the beats are still, you know, where they should be. And so this beats per minute is very handy for the work you're doing. But it means nothing outside of that. It just gives it these little glue sticky points. Again, like we said, this is that. And I'm going to go ahead. No, before I do that, let's look at some other things we do here. I'll come up here. I'll mute this for the minute. And bring that in. Test 1. Okay. I'm going to right click, edit, copy. Edit, paste. Now I have 2 copies of this. Notice that this copy is a copy of the thing that's on the disk because it's only an Ardour reference. It's, you know, open it up, it's still got all that stuff. I'm going to come over here. Let me play this first so you hear. Test 1. Test 1. Now if I lay over this like this, what happens? Test 1. And you didn't hear the 1 that's right here because this is laid over the top. But let me first let me show you what these little things are. This means fade in, fade out. If I right click here, I've got different choices of how to fade in or fade out. I'll pick fast here. Whoops. Yeah, there we go. Fast. It's right up there. And here I'll fade out, right click. I don't think I wanted constant power. I think I wanted slow. Okay, now when I put this over the top of it, hopefully you'll hear the 1. Test 1. Test 1. And you see how that works, that I have reduced the gain of this entire signal here, and so the stuff behind comes through. And if I don't want that, you know, I don't have to fade in or out, but it's a way to stack these up so I can come all the way over here and back it up. Test 1. Come over here. Over here. Test. Might have gone a little too far with that. Test. Oh, let's try this. Layers, they're overlaid now. Let's stack them. Sometimes it's a little easier to see what's going on. And now let's try it. Test. Okay, so you see that I can manage the laying over by stacking them up like this. I can come back here, right click, layers, put overlaid, whichever I'd prefer. Once again, all the audio is still there. Test 1, 2, 3. I can come here and the layers stacked. Select them both. I was holding down the control key and hitting enter, and normalize them. Test. So, in fact, let's take a brief look at that. What can I do? I right click. First, let me jump back to jargon. This is a track. This is a region. This is a range. And that can be important for some of these things we're going to get up to here in a second. So I'll come over here, select both of these, right click, and what can I do? I can play them, loop them, rename them, go into their properties. I can, we'll mess with reverse in a minute. I can position them, slide them around. I'm not going to go into loops and punch-ins at the moment. I can flip the layers, which one's on top, which one's on the bottom. I can normalize or boost the gain or cut the gain, as you've seen. You saw the, I can multi-duplicate, which you might find interesting. I'll put on 5 copies of that. And notice that it dropped 5 copies in there. Or I can look at their spectral analysis. Okay, so let's take a brief look at that. Test. Which can be handy, but let's, what's another, and that's pretty much it. That's what you're going to do. You're going to add tracks, you're going to record, you're going to slide them around, you're going to change their gain, you're going to import things and that kind of stuff. But let's go mess around here. Let's turn this off and listen to this. Okay, and let's come over here. I'm right clicking and let's reverse that. Now let's listen to it. So it reverses the sounds. Let's get rid of this whole drum track and slide this back here and unmute all this and come here. Make some copies, put another track in here, and I don't want that. We'll zoom in a little better so we can see better. Copy. Paste. Come down here and pitch shift. We'll drop this an octave. Test. Oops, we went a little, I mean, that got a little ugly. Let's mute this. Test. Too much an octave? Well, we could have chosen something else. We could have pitch shift. Some number of semitones, whatever it be, let's raise that by 5 semitones. And let's oops, reverse it. Yeah, so like I say, absolutely useless, but fun. And I think that's all we're going to do this week. I just wanted to show you what this is for. Remember, down here you can have buses, you can have audio tracks, MIDI tracks, you can have audio plus MIDI if you know why you'd want to do that. You can record on things, you can mute, as you've seen me do repeatedly through here. There is a really slick automation in Ardour and in All Things, but I've done a whole video on that last season. I hope that you'll go check that out if you're interested in automation. One thing that's very cool, if you put effects on here, and you know, at the risk of abusing your time, let's just go do that. Add an effect here. I think everybody knows, if you've been watching this, I love phasers. I don't know why. But now I have a phaser on here. Let's mute. Yeah, let's come back here. Okay. And any of the things with the phaser, I can automate. So it's depth, it's frequency, whatever it would be. So through programming various automations, I can do a fader or a pan, or I can come into the calf phaser and select any of its things. And you know, these DAWs are amazing. And I can go through and through the course of this entire track, change how much the phaser comes in, change its depth from slow to fast, you know, whatever it would be. So again, that's nothing to do with standard operations. Standard operations are import, record, trim, those kind of things, but just should this tweak your imagination. Boy, there's a ton of things that could be done here. So I urge you, go back and look at those other Ardour videos. There's one on buses, why you'd want to use them. There's one on automation, and that's it. I'll see you next week. Okay, so that's it for this week. Next week or 2 weeks after, whatever, we're going to do MIDI. And again, I want to reiterate, these are things that are common to all DAWs. We're using Ardour because, in my opinion, it's as good as anything out there, and it's not free. You get to pay for it what you want. I mean, what you can afford. So if you can only afford $25, then it costs you $25, which is a pretty cool thing if you're not one of these big time fancy music promoters. If you're trying to do your thing on a shoestring, then by all means pick up a copy of Ardour and get started. Otherwise, like I say with every video, you got to do this stuff. You can't watch this video and go on to the next one. get harder, roll up your sleeves, put some stuff in there, do a little recording, a little importing of tracks, play around with it, get comfortable with it. It's very, very, very full featured, and you like it. You'll make magic. So let's do it. I'll see you next week.